If you haven't downloaded, liked, and subscribed, Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast, then god damn it, you's a dumb bitch. Because I'm Rock, and he's Bong.
I'm March, and he's right.
Well, our opinions, they might not matter to some, but...
What are you doing in there?
It's a podcast.
Immature, crass, trashy. And those are their good qualities. These poor schmucks are a couple of IQ points away from eating paste. But when it comes to music, sports, and comedy, well, that's all they know. You're listening to
Not These Two Fucking Guys.
Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast.
No rock, no games, no gimmicks, no bullshit, right to the interview. Let's go.
So, Oris, you ready for this guest this week?
Oh, I'm ready.
I think I'm going to have a problem, though.
Tell me why.
This is one of my favorite fighters, so I'm not going to be objective.
Okay.
I might be a little bit of a fanboy here.
Oh, well, all right. I mean, hey, if anyone would be good at being a fanboy, you would be.
It might be a problem. So, she was in the first fight in female UFC history. One of my favorite fighters, Liz Carmouche. Liz, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
How are you?
I'm doing great. Ready to smash faces this weekend?
Yeah. So we super appreciate you taking some time out, and we'll make it quick. On fight week, you're fighting. It's this Saturday, I believe, right?
Yes, that's correct.
We appreciate you taking time out on fight week to talk to us, and just wanted to check in, see how you're doing, what's going on. We talked a little bit before about you're not really cutting weight, but how's fight week going?
It's definitely weird. I'm so used to doing the media tour. So we're going to TV networks, we're going to radio stations. They're lining up different media outlets within the building itself, and none of that is happening. I think that doesn't happen until tomorrow when we get all our COVID tests back. But usually, we land and it's just one thing after another. Like, nope, stay in your room. Don't leave the room. We have security on every floor. So if you leave your room, you get dropped from your fight. You're like, that's easy. I won't leave my room then. I've been in a 6-month fight camp. My last fight got canceled. And then we got wind that they were going to start rebooking again. So 2 weeks later, I was right back into another fight camp. So I'm like, I'm not doing anything to mess this up. I'm waiting 6 months to fight. And it was a year prior to that. There's nothing you can say that's going to make me, you want me to stay in my room? I'll stay in my room.
Yeah.
You want me to eat out of a tuna can and only tuna? Okay, I'll do whatever you say. Just make sure I get my But it's weird because it's just not a situation I've been in where just stay in your room. If I stay in the room, it's because I want to. It's not because I don't have a choice, but there's still interactions and stuff. Even the Bellato staff is at arm's distance. We've done some Zoom meetings, so I'm not even interacting with them very much.
Mm-hmm.
That's so weird. I'm used to having to go get my hair done, having to get makeup, because God knows I can't do any of that. And just sitting here and just continually watch Food Network, because that's what I do when I'm in fight week.
Give me both. So talk to us. This is your first fight in Bellator. Like you said, you had a fight scheduled and it got canceled. So what are your thoughts? Obviously your first fight with Bellator.
Yeah, I'm really excited because it's not I've never had an easy fight, and this certainly isn't going to be the exception. I mean, it's another veteran who has just as many fights as I have and has been fighting just as long. So it's not hey, welcome to Bellator. Here's an easy fight. Welcome aboard. That's not what's happening. It's once again another one where it's this is going to be a tough fight. And I treat every fight as though it's a championship fight and give everything I have, train my ass off. And this is no exception. And I know that Bellator's going out there to make a name and to rock the stage in what will be an empty stadium in our Bellator rooms.
Yeah, empty stadium. A little weird, a little eerie, but yet it might have a different vibe, right? I mean, what do you think going into this?
Yeah, for me, when they said it was empty, I was like, honestly, that's kind of cool to me, because when I walk out to the stage and having people where, I don't mean it's disrespectful, they want to touch me. I'm a huge germaphobe. COVID in some ways has been a blessing, because I want to shake your hand. Nobody wants to shake your hands anymore. I don't have, I've had people that are dripping sweat from their armpits, put their arm around me. I'm like, oh my God. Literally freaking out and timing how long before I can get to the shower and rinse off. And I have defense wipes and things like that with me. Yeah. So this is one of those things where cool, I can just walk to the fight, get it done, and walk out. That's it. That's great for me. That in between and having people that are just touching you, don't know where you're in. I'll see people rub their nose and see a booger on it and they fist bump. I'm like, no. They cough in their hands and like slap me on the back. I'm just freaking out inside.
Yeah.
It's nice just to get in there and just get it done. And fights that I had in the past was in Vegas, and it was in the Palms, which is a really small venue. And to me, it's probably the closest you can get. But I mean, even in the gym, we've simulated, not in this environment, but like just to get you hyped up for it. It's just the cage and you and your teammates, and you just go in there, and it's with all that same pressure. We bring in a different opponent. So this is like, oh yeah, it's basically like that, but I don't have to worry about hurting this person. You know, like with my teammates, I'm like, yeah, I want to rough them up, but I don't want to hurt them. This person's like, yeah, I can just go as hard as I want. So it's kind of cool in that way. Just go in there, do my business, and get out.
That's awesome. Listen, I know DeAnna Bennett has fought quite a few fights last year, and I know you fought, what was it, one within the last kind of year?
Yep.
I know you train your ass off, and even, you know, you say you train your ass off. But as far as fight experience, I mean, I know you have it, but just she's been in the ring a little bit more lately. How do you feel going into this?
Yeah, I'm really not concerned with that, just because we are able to get different bodies in, especially with COVID. It's kind of hit or miss on who's able to make it because gyms are closed all over California.
Yep.
And I mean, I get to train with like the current Bellator champion. I get to train with Pearl Gonzalez. It's in Invicta, was a contender. So it's not for lack of training. I have great training partners. One of my main ones that came through is Rika Martin. He's hits hard as a truck. I mean, he's called Hulk hands for a reason. And, like, if I can endure those hands smashing through me, I'm not worried about anybody. And I mean, he even said going into this, he's like, if they called me right now and said like, hey, your opponent can't fight and I had to fight you, he's like, I wouldn't take the fight. I wouldn't want to fight you.
Yeah.
So like my training partner's like, nope, we're done. Like, we're so glad you're finally sent off.
Yeah.
And you can wait because we don't want to do anymore. I know I'm ready for the fight. I don't have to do anything.
That's fucking awesome. Awesome.
So like, I know you're the ultimate competitor, right? And you said it before. You legit, looking at all the people you fought, have never had an easy fight. Like, you've never had a fight where it was like, I'm fighting up and comer. Like you have everything was a tough fight, and like, I mean, but that speaks to who you are.
Yeah. Everybody I've fought has been champions. I've never fought anybody that has not been a champion. That's just the reality is. Like, you can look at Jennifer Maia and everybody's like, oh, well, she's going to Invicta. I'm like, she was the Invicta champion.
Sure.
And then came over to the UFC.
Yeah.
And then every single person I've ever fought had been the champion and become the contender, and then that's how I fought them. So everybody I've fought has been kick-ass fighters. I've never had an easy, just like, hand me fight since day one on. I mean, even my first fight, my first pro fight, the woman outweighed me by 35 pounds on weigh-in day. I didn't gain any weight. Who knows what she ballooned up to? So even in that case, like, yeah, she may not have been a champion. Neither of us were. But from day one, it's never been easy. It's always been a challenge. And I've always stepped up to the challenge no matter who it is.
Good.
Sure. So talk to us. You were, you know, and when I remember like reading, you know, I go on all the MMA sites, and you were ranked 4th or 5 in the UFC and got cut. Like, and if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, you were on like a public relations tour, like going out and doing press for them while this happened.
Yeah, I was at a hospital in the cancer ward department when I got word that I got cut for the UFC. And I had taken off my whole week of work. And especially then, like, I was still waiting. I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, I need the money. I'm ready to fight again. I'm staying ready. Put me back in there. Like, yeah, we'll keep getting a call. And I'm like, it's kind of weird. Like, usually they say something like, we tried with people, but unfortunately people said no. Whatever the circumstances, I was getting no feedback whatsoever. That kind of like sends a little red flag. I don't feel very good about this, but whatever. They invite me to the media tour. I'm like, well, if they were going to invite me to go to this media tour and take off from work for a week, they wouldn't do that if they were going to cut me.
Sure.
Well, I was like, here I am, like, the head of the hospital came down and said how great and appreciative were that I came out, me specifically. And then I'm on the bus back getting the boot. All right. It's just life.
Now, what was, did they give you I mean, I personally think it was because you beat all the top people, and I feel like you were like cleaning out divisions, and that almost is a problem for them, you know?
That's exactly it. Is everybody, like I said, they brought in Jennifer Maia from Invicta. Prior to that, it was Lucy Pudilova. All the people that they kept bringing in to try and build up their reputation, use me as a stepping stone, I kept knocking them all down. And every time that they'd ask somebody, like, look, even if we take the fight against Liz and we win, we're going to go to the hospital and have to take time off. There's no real wins against her. It's the cost of her body. So
Sure.
everybody was saying no, and I couldn't get any fights. So I'd say, unfortunately, we can't get you fights, so you get cut. I'm like, that's weird because I've been injured and like potentially going into surgery. You guys told me to take the fight or I get blacklisted. But these other people would just say no. That's kind of weird to me, but all right.
It's like they had to remove the big fish. Yep, get her out.
Oh, well, listen, Arch, if you remember, it's kind of like when we talked to John Fish. It was kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He beat all the top contenders in the division, and they cut him while he was still ranked, which is, to me, inexplicable. But, I guess it happens. I don't know. So talk about this fight on Saturday. What obviously we don't, we're not going to ask you your game plan, but we know what you do. But what's your thoughts going to Saturday? Obviously, your first fight with Bellator, and you obviously want to make a statement.
Yeah, and I'm happy to make the statement. I mean, I always am. It doesn't matter where it is. I mean, even if the person's significantly just a Muay Thai striker, they're a wrestler, they're a boxer, they're a jiu-jitsu practitioner. It doesn't matter where it is. I want to meet them head on at their best and defeat them at their best. That's always my goal. Okay, well, the best thing you do is you strike and you just grind in the pocket. Well, then I want to sit in the pocket with you and grind and show that I'm just as good, if not better than you. So it doesn't matter where she wants to take it. I want to meet her head on and show her that I'm better at her. And I just want to put on a good show, whether that's a quick finish or long, drawn-out, explosive fight that everybody enjoys. I just want to go out there and do work and come out with a strong finish in my hand in the air.
Yeah, man. And so I feel like I'm Archie's MMA tutor, if you will.
He's my tutor. He's my tutor.
So Liz trains at 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, right? Black belt under Eddie Bravo. That's like the highest of highest orders. That's there's a million black belts out there, but it depends what school you go to and where you're from. It's that's the highest. And talk about training there. And I know you train there with some. I'm sorry, I can't think of her name right now. The Bellator champ.
Alima.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great school. So it started off as San Diego Combat Academy, and our jiu-jitsu program is really what we were missing out on. At that time, Richie Martinez was fighting in MMA, and he came through and he expressed that he wanted to change things up. We offered an opportunity like, hey, well, your jiu-jitsu, you want to teach us, we can help you make that dream come alive, while he was still practicing MMA. He ended up being like, you know what, I did as a mission. I said that, it's done. I'm just going to focus on jiu-jitsu. And he started bringing in, I was like, wow, this is really forcing things I've never done before. I'm not a flexible human being. There are positions I want to get into. I'm like, I don't know that you think that that's possible for the average athlete, but I cannot touch my toes. Don't ask me that. But it was mental too. What I really liked about the system was you have a guy that fights MMA and he's like, cool, this works for you. This doesn't work for you. Adapt. Change it. Be creative. And before, in the system that I've been learning in, I was like, hey, well, it's weird because when I do MMA, like I can't really get to this. This doesn't apply. They're like, just do what we said, drill this in the story. There's no creative mind behind it. That's not 10th Planet. They want, yeah, you have something that's creative and you want to add into it. Absolutely. If you can land in competition, name it, it's yours. That's their big thing, is bring in a creative twist. If you have a different way of doing things, it doesn't make it wrong. And that to me was so fun and so appealing. And it forced me to do things that I had never done before, that my jiu-jitsu grew so fast. And I mean, I'd been a purple belt before that, and I just felt like I'd stagnated where I was going. And then in a few short years, went from purple to black. And it wasn't just like, oh, you just got promoted because they just promote girls and everybody. No, like Richie and Gio, they promote because they honestly believe that you have the skill set there and you represent the system. They don't just throw around belts. Like, they really promote the way that I appreciate promotions. And getting to train with those two, I mean, like I said, Richie, both of them, they both have a breakdancing background. And you have Richie, who's 6'1", 6'2", and then you have his brother that's 5'7", and completely different styles on how they do the same system. So I get like one thing where he shows me, I'm like, okay, it doesn't quite work. Go to his brother. I'm like, that works perfect. But you guys, it's the same thing, but just brought in a different perspective. And I really like that because they test out new things. They study tape on me and study tape on my opponents and go, okay, this is what you should do. I've seen your strengths. This is what you need to work on. And they're really cool, like coming and adapting for you and helping you grow. And it just shot my jiu-jitsu through the roof. And I love training there. Like, these two guys, they're the best at what they do. They're competing. They both hold, I mean, Richie holds the combat jiu-jitsu title for his division. He just won this previous weekend and is subversive. And you have like PJ Barch, all these guys in the area that are killing it, crushing it continually. And the guys that are at our 10th Planet schools, they're not like, oh, we're tired and they used to jiu-jitsu, compete jiu-jitsu. No, they still compete every day. So everything is in their heads, it's fresh, and they're learning new things on the move and wanting to evolve too. And they bring that to their students. So it's a really awesome environment.
Off the top of my head, as a fighter, what's new as far as learning? Can you always learn, right? I can armbar, I can do this, I can do that. That's great. Can you always build as a fighter?
Absolutely. I think that the moment that you stop belting as a fighter, you should retire. Mm-hmm. If you stop finding things that, whether it's that you think that you've reached the top and you don't need to learn anymore, or you are not seeking out the tools to do that, you should stop. You should retire, because this is a sport where kids are doing this at 4 years old. I have a kid that's turning 16 that should be a black belt, like is crushing all the adults, but they haven't turned 16 yet. So we can't promote them to black belt. But the reality is it's a black belt.
Yeah.
Grace Conundrum, perfect example. She finally hit 16. She's been killing these adults. She, as a child, has been competing against black belts and beating them. Finally, 16 is like, all right, we can finally promote you to black belt. We've just been waiting because we're not allowed to do it until then. Because these kids can do it at 4 and they're sponges. So the reality is if they can master, if they could be essentially a black belt as a child, if they can master wrestling, if they can master Muay Thai, Taekwondo, all of these things before they ever turn 18, and you think that in your 20s, when you started off at 18, that you are possibly ever going to pair against them and succeed, you've lost your mind.
Wow.
I mean, think about it. Like as a kid, you're like, oh, you can learn 3 languages. You can learn 6 languages. Try learning 6 languages as a 30-year-old.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
No.
It's the same thing with sports. Children can adapt to anything and everything and constantly learn and absorb all information. As adults, we're not. So like we have to grow and do our damnedest every single day to learn, or you're in a deficit.
My wife still tells me to put the seat down.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm learning. I'm trying. Are you still mentoring little kids? Now, the gratification out of that, is it not fulfilling at the end of the day when you drive home and you see little Johnny did that kick?
Yeah, and it started off as I had a different idea. I just come out of the Marine Corps, so I still thought like boot camp style and how I was training. So for me, it wasn't about, it was more about, like you said, seeing them demonstrate the moves and less about the light bulb in their eyes. Like when I teach a child and they're struggling and they can't get the move, like when that light bulb happens and it clicks, it's not just about learning the move. It's about it clicking for other aspects of their life. Like one of my kids in my program, he'd been, I'd say a C student at best, always in trouble. And it wasn't for not being intelligent. It was just that things in his life, just nobody ever told him he could do well and succeed. Nobody ever said that he could be good in anything, had any positive outlooks on his life. And he finally had somebody who's like, I'll help you go as far as you want to with this. You absolutely can. His grades went up. He never got in trouble. He became like an A and B student and everything from like his parents came to me like, they're not the same kid. He practices the move at home. His priority when he gets home is to do his homework so that he can go to your classes. Because I told all the students, like, if your parents or your teachers say there are any incidents, you don't come to my class. This is the privilege that you have to earn, and you have to have the discipline to get here. And so when you see that and just that light in their eyes and their demeanor change, that confidence, that was what was so winning, more so than them being able to demonstrate the moves.
Good. That's awesome. That's awesome to hear.
So I know always get asked about it, but I feel like we'd be remiss in our duties if we didn't talk about first UFC women's fight with Ronda Rousey. I know like everyone asked you about it and it's kind of a hacky question, but I knew about you in Strikeforce and Invicta, right? And then seeing the lead up to that fight, getting to see you like on like UFC interview, like backstage stuff, I'm like, man, she's like, what an amazing personality. That was the first UFC audience is huge, right? Some people don't watch Invicta or watch Strikeforce and didn't know you on a grand stage. But man, you really like owned that moment. Like I feel like you were way more like Ronda Rousey was at that time going into the fight. But talk to us about that.
Yeah, it was. There was so much to learn. I think the biggest thing that I took away from that were 2 big takeaways. One is just the importance of recovery. I really didn't understand that. I mean, I was working full time and then trying to overtrain even more than full time at that point, and trying to balance the 2 things. I was always in a deficit. I didn't do massages. I didn't do chiropractic. I didn't do anything to help my body recover at all. Even
Wow.
my diet was good, but there were still tweaks I needed to make that wasn't being made. So those are a lot of things that I took going forward is I need to take care of my body if I expect it to do the best I possibly can. So that was a big takeaway from the fight. That second one was the media tour from that fight set me up for success for the rest of my career. Nothing has ever compared to what I went through leading up to that Ronda fight. And I had to give them 2 hours, and that was the minimum. I had to give them 2 hours every day, nonstop for media. Wow. And that was every single day. So on top of working full-time and training full-time, I was also trying to do that.
Wow.
And so after doing that, learning how to manage all those things, learning how to present myself in front of people, how to carry myself, it just made everything so much easier that every time I did a media tour, I'm like, I look at a sheet, I'm like, is this it? Are you sure? Like, yeah, this is great. Cool, like to relax. So it was so easy, it was a breeze. But it helped me understand how to manage all of that and prepare for every other fight from that point on.
You seemed like a natural in front of the camera and like talking to people, and like I don't know if that's
Rock. Did you see her on? Did you see her on Larry King?
That got me in trouble.
I watched the Larry King one. I was like, she doesn't even look nervous though. I'm nervous. She don't even look nervous.
So the funny thing I think with that is my stepfather was a college professor, and one of his degrees was in speech. And having to do that, I mean, when you go into a house, you're not allowed to say you're not allowed to say like. You can't have pauses in the conversation. When his friends were all college professors, so if they come over for any reason, you're getting grilled by geniuses in their fields.
Damn.
It really helps set you up to be in that environment, because I'm having to put on that skill level and basically put on a presentation every single time that adults come around. It was like, oh yeah, media, it is pretty ezy. I can do this. Speech and debate, I had to do that every weekend. This is nothing.
That's awesome training. As soon as the camera was on, how you doing, Mr. King? Nice glasses.
Obviously, before that fight, you had fought Valentina Shevchenko, Marlo Shonen, Sarah Kaufman, Caitlin Young. Like you fought a who's who of female fighters before you even fought Ronda Rousey. So like you could just tell like the moment wasn't too big for you. Like it's like you were meant for that moment. And like what was your dealings with the UFC to get that fight?
Yeah, so it was at that point, Strikeforce had been bought out by the UFC, but they had been adamant at that point about saying that they were not going to integrate women into the UFC. Mm-hmm. So we were all in this kind of standstill. What are we going to do at this point? We're still technically contracted. Then Invicta started incorporating and letting us fight for them, but it wasn't quite to the level that we'd known Strikeforce to be. And they didn't fight that often. So those of us that wanted to get our usual 6 to 8 fights a year, we're not even guaranteed to get 3 fights a year. So it's a huge like, oh man, this is going to hurt. How are we supposed to do this? Where are we supposed to go with this? So we're all in that weird limbo. And the UFC then started working with Ronda Rousey, who had been the Strikeforce champion. It was like, no, you guys got to do something about this. I held my belt there. Invicta's not going to work for me. Let's make UFC happen. And she did a great job of being able to boycott for it and convince them that that's something they should do. Through talking with that, Dana White's like, you're right. I go back on my word. And I did say I would not ever have women fight in the UFC. Change my mind. Let's make this happen. But everybody that they offered her, all of them said no. They all turned her down. And then I guess as they went through, they're like, okay, Miesha Tate, no. Okay, this person, no. Just started knocking down. And I told my management, I'm like, hey, there's a rumor there could possibly be a fight. I'll take it. I don't care what weight it is. I'll take the fight. I want to be that fight in the UFC. I don't care who it is. I don't care what weight it is. Tell me any weight. I don't care if it's 175 and I'm greatly outweighed. I don't care. I'll take the fight. And then sure enough, I get a phone call. So I have this weird thing too, where between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m., I don't touch my phone. So if somebody's calling me, I just raise that old school way. It's rude. You don't call them. So I see like my phone
is that why you didn't call me back? No, I'm joking.
The phone's blown up. It's text messages, phone calls. I turn over like, you guys know the rule. I don't know what's going on. The gym better burn down. That's the only way that this is acceptable. And then look, and I'm like, all right. So my head coach and my manager are calling me.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's got to be something. Let me get. So I take the call. And then sure enough, he's like, hey, here's an opportunity. Would you fight Ronda Rousey? Yes. Don't you want to hear more? Nope. I'll take it. Like everyone else said no. I'm like, I don't care what everyone else said. I'm not everyone else. My answer is yes.
And don't you ever effing call me again at this time.
He's like, don't you want to check with your coaches? I'm like, well, I can see that they called me, so I'm pretty sure that's what it's about. But yeah, I'll call and let them know we're going to go fight the UFC because,
That's awesome. So go ahead, Rock. Go ahead. Please, ladies first. You, go ahead.
So obviously after that fight, you're now from fighting the toughest females out there. Now you're like a household name. Life had to be different after that, no?
It was different in a lot of ways. I'd say the turning point fight for me was the Marlowe's fight. Prior to that, nobody knew who I was. And then I come back from the Marlowe's fight. That Sunday, I go to the grocery store to restock my house, and like 3 people come up to me. Are you Liz Carmouche? Yes. Holy shit! We saw your fight. Good job. I'm like, thanks. That's really weird. Right. So I like kind of started it, and then it died down a little bit. Everything was pretty chill, but still weird to go places that people recognize me and be like, "You're awesome. Hi, you're gone. I don't know your name. Okay, bye." Have random dads come up to me and say that I inspired their daughters. It's super weird for me. And then you have the Ronda fight blew it up to a whole new level where there was not anywhere I could go. It wasn't like every now and then. It was for a good 2 years I couldn't go anywhere. Opportunities where people were like, hey, I'd like to fly in from the East Coast all the way to the West Coast to come train with you for the weekend. Do you do personal and private training? What? You want to train with me? Okay. Yeah, I'm a little baby blue belt, but all right, sure. Like I'll show you what I know.
Yeah.
So that was cool. It was inspiring people that I never thought that I would inspire. Being a spokesperson and a role model for the LGBTQ community, that I never thought was going to happen. After coming from the Marine Corps and the don't ask, don't tell policy, to then having people tell me that they felt like they could come out, like that was just safe for them, or they knew there's something they had to do regardless if they felt safe or not. I never thought that would happen for me. I thought that I would be a closet case, and whether it was like a locked-in closet case or just a quiet person that was openly out, I never thought it never meant for it to be what it was. And that was really crazy for me to go into a place where I had spent, like Hillcrest is the gay community in San Diego. And going there, again, nobody knows who I am. And all of a sudden I have people like, hey, can I buy you a drink? Okay. I know who you are. Oh.
Yes.
No, you don't have to buy me a drink. You can just like hang out and talk. Like you could just tell me. And you're like, no, we just want to buy you a drink. We'll leave you alone. Okay, that's weird. Right. I'd never experienced that before. Like that same bar that I go to, them asking me like, hey, can you come host an event? Me? I'm the one that's drunk here all the time. You don't want me to. If you want me to. Yeah. So it was weird. And that definitely took some getting used to it. People like honking as they drive by or randomly just coming in like, hey, we saw this at your gym. We just want to come and take a picture with you.
Yeah.
That definitely took some getting used to. And that was the biggest change. It's just people being a common face that people know.
That had to be the most fulfilling thing, though. No, I mean, obviously all your victories inside the cage, but like something like that affects people's lives. You know what I mean? Like that has to be the most fulfilling thing, no?
Yeah, everybody recognized me. No, like I'm a private, quiet person. I'm an introvert. This, like when I do these interviews, I'm done for the day after that. That's like no more people interactions. I don't want to talk to people. I don't want to see people. Other than that, I go out and I explore. I'm a huge foodie. That's the extent of me going out into the world. It's like I skydive, which is a solo thing. I surf. That's a solo thing. Ride my motorcycle. None of these things involve other people. So that was really different. But when I would hear things where I inspired somebody, whether it was that they never thought that they could follow and try out MMA, it was something they wanted to do, but their gym didn't train women. And they realized that they just had to go make it happen. Or hear a father reach out to me and say, this daughter came out to me and he was nervous about what to say. What should he say back to her? And like people saying like, you made a difference. I felt like I could finally come out to my friends and family. That was like, oh my God, I never thought that I could impact somebody across the world that I've never seen on that level. And for them to be like sending me messages, essentially opening up and telling me every detail, I never thought that would happen, to inspire somebody that I've never met. And that was really rewarding and so cool to see that fight could have that impact on people's lives.
Just from talking to you for 40 minutes. You seem like a really good, genuine, down-to-earth person. I think we both hope, your career has done wonders so far for people, but we really hope on Saturday you come out victorious, because you earned it. Like that, you're a good person, and this is awesome. I do have one crazy personal question, but please bear with me.
I'm nervous.
No. This is a crazy question. When you got your ear pods in and you're training and you're giving it all you got, what music are you listening to?
So here's what I think. I don't listen to music when I train.
Okay.
And there's two reasons for that. One, because when we're in the cage, there isn't music.
Got it.
Right. So what I find is if I'm not dialed in and I need this outside distraction, then when I'm in the cage, I'm going to have that same issue where I need those outside noises to help me tune in. But if I already train in silence, then that works for me. Now, when I'm throwing up weights, that's completely different, because it's not.
Let's go there.
You're not lifting up bicep curl.
Yeah.
And that's like different moods. Sometimes it's hip hop. Sometimes it's rock. Sometimes it's electric. It's whatever song just catches me that day. That's what I throw into, and that's what I'm just like going nonstop. People ask like, "Oh, what are you listening to?" I'm like, "It's kind of embarrassing today. It's country." I'm like, what? And then the next day they're like, "I don't even want to ask, but what are you listening to?" Hip hop. Next day, alternative, metal. Right? You're all over the place. I'm like, yeah, I have an eclectic background, so I listen to everything. For all you know, you're gonna hear like Japanese music that you don't understand.
It's Taylor Swift Tuesday. Here we go.
Never said that I ever listened to Taylor Swift. I couldn't see her music. And then my wife is a huge Taylor Swift fan. And started turning me on and telling me the story behind it. I'm like, damn you, I like Taylor Swift. Now I hate you for this.
Yeah.
It's like it quietly plays, and I don't want anyone to ever know that it's happening. Like, was that Taylor Swift? No. Taylor Swift. Turn that down.
There's a couple country dudes that my wife listens to. Both of us, we come from like a metal background, and she starts to listen to this country stuff after she had our two girls, actually. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I like this. Okay, all right. Put Blake Shelton back on real quick. Let me just hear him real quick.
Country for me is like romantic music. Now you can slow down to country and it be there a connection behind there without having to get R&B like let's go to the bedroom,
Yeah.
So like it has those vibes for me where you can just like mellow out, just kind of tune out, have a good thing. But yeah, I come from, like my dad is from the South, so it's country and it's metal.
That's awesome. I'll get off the subject, but what metal? Because we're big metal heads, Rocky and I. What do you like?
You name it, everything. I was an 80s kid, so you have to think that he was born in the 60s. So that gives you an idea of the genres, from Iron Maiden to Metallica, like the classics.
Awesome. That's awesome.
So, Liz, you're in I want to say a unique position right now, right? So it's going to be your first fight in Bellator. You're still in your prime, but yet considered an MMA pioneer, right, for the women's division.
Yeah.
That's a lot to carry around. Like so anytime that you fight, and again, we've gone under your list, you haven't had one easy fight, right? But anytime you fight, there's huge expectations on your head. Like, how do you deal with that?
I don't put it on. I just completely put it on. And I think after the fight is when I'll address that as a topic. But leading up to it, the only thing I concentrate on is the best version of myself. Like when I am in the gym, it's okay. I want to put up the most weight I've ever put up. I want to do these sprints faster. I'm always trying to beat my previous time and be the best version of myself every time I step foot in there. So the idea of being a pioneer, I'm competing against that person yesterday. And if that person was my best self, I'm an even better person today. So it's really easy when you put it in that perspective.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
It's almost like Rocky's philosophy in life, but the opposite.
Well, listen, we can't tell you. I mean, I'll speak for myself here. One of my favorite fighters of all time, and for you to take time for us on fight week means the world to us. Obviously, it speaks to the person that you are. Saturday, September 12th, Bellator 246. You're gonna have the two biggest fans rooting for you right here, and we appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys.
Listen, Liz Carmouche, pioneer. Good luck. You're still gonna do it, and you're still gonna fight you'll make a title run. You know it.
Oh, absolutely.
Liz, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good luck Saturday.
Good luck. Have a great night.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. I could speak for Rocco and myself that it was an honor to have Liz, Girl-Rilla, Carmouche with us today. We wish her the best of luck, her first Bellator fight. So down to earth, so chill, so cool, very regimented. Check her out, follow her everywhere, Liz Carmouche. With that being said, yo, Rocco, take us home.
Friday night and you're all alone, wishing you would get that drunk call on your telephone, but all you have is Not These Two Fucking Guys podcast. Peace out, Cub Scout. No doubt we're fucking river trout.
We out.